stuttering. The absolute worst when you're just trying to say something to someone. Trying to make a joke, stuttering ruins it. Trying to be serious, stuttering makes everyone laugh at you. Trying to tell the truth, now everyone thinks you're just lying. I used to have a minor stutter, and I had so many conversations ruined because of it. But luckily, I fixed it over time as I grew older. And I'm gonna give you everything that I know that reduced my stutter to a minimum. Hopefully it does for you too. So my first tip is gonna be talk a lot to yourself, to a camera. Just talk a lot to yourself, right? Just speak a lot. So one thing that I'm very grateful for is I've done YouTube for a long time. I've spoken to a camera, a microphone, doesn't really matter. Most of my time was faceless on YouTube. But when I spoke on YouTube, it was basically talking to myself thinking there was an audience, right? I didn't have any script. I didn't have any script to work off with. I was just speaking with my games, right? And I would still stutter during the game, especially around my friends when I'm not recording, but I would stutter. Practice makes perfect. Also, another thing you should really do more often is think out loud to yourself, right? Don't be keeping those thoughts in your brain just like, No, speak. You gotta speak out loud. Every time I had a situation of drama that I had to be in, which I wanted to escape from, I would think out loud to myself. Every time I had a crush and then I wanted to dissect their possible candidates of who she might like, I would think to myself and then dissect it all. It felt more clearer. My conversations with myself were so much more clear than I had with other people because I didn't stutter when I was speaking to myself. I always had everything I thought because I was just thinking what my mind was without having to go with the flow in the conversation. And if you're stuttering while thinking out loud, let me move on to the next tip, which actually helped me out. So have the answer in your mind ready before you speak. So when you're thinking of a sentence, a thought, you're not stuttering those words in your brain. You're stuttering when you're speaking. That's something psychological, not physical. There's not something wrong with you. You can't really stutter when you think. I stuttered because I didn't have the words ready when I was going to be speaking. Especially when I'm in a conversation, I'm running out of words to say, and then at the end, boom, completely gone. I just have to think of the words and I'm just stuttering before I begin the next dialogue of words. I was stuttering because I rushed the process. I wasn't giving my mind enough time to think. You gotta give your mind enough time to think in order to, say these words clearly without stuttering. And that moves on to our next tip, which is to pause and to slow down. I know people that talk fast, and that includes me, and stutter because they're speaking fast. It's because they're not giving their brains enough time to think. They're just going throughout it. They want to rush the process. You have to talk a bit slower, especially if you're a stutterer like I was, and you have to give your brain more time to think. Take those pauses. Every time you're like at the end of something and you just don't know what to say next, take that pause, right? You don't have to fill it up with filler words like not unless there's someone who likes to interrupt the conversation and bring their own thoughts in. They're an asshole, okay? That's rude to interrupt people when they're still thinking of a thought. But you can check out my stop saying video and figure out how to do that. But just take the time to think. When you slow down and you're thinking of a constructive response, it shows credibility as you're taking that time to really give a proper response to the other person, right? It makes you more credible, makes your words seem more credible, it makes your response seem more powerful and legit. So you can be taken more seriously, especially during a serious conversation. You gotta take those pauses. You gotta take that time, because if you're gonna be saying those type of things and you stutter, boom, conversation immediately ruined. Giving advice to people, they will listen to you when you take your time. They will listen to you. They don't care. They're not going to interrupt. Most likely they're just going to be asking questions. So don't be rushing it out, because you want to give your words as much credibility as possible by speaking as slowly as possible. You gave your mind time to think. But one other thing I really took away from listening to Steve Harvey especially was don't anticipate the stutter. I never did speech therapy or anything. I was just watching speech videos, watching Steve Harvey and how he cured his stutter, because I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted my message to be getting out there more clearly. So what I did was I took a bunch of their methods, I practiced them by talking to myself, and now it applies to other people I talk to, especially on camera, because I don't know, I don't talk to people on camera like this all the time, right? It's so weird to me, but I'm still speaking like this. So don't think you're going to stutter. If you do, you're going to stutter. That's something I've learned from when I'm speaking to other people. It doesn't happen as much since I'm, more used to speaking more clearly. I practice this. It's in the flow of my conversation now, but you got to speak like an expert on a topic, right? I'm not speaking like an amateur who's only done this for a couple of months. Oh my gosh, guys. No, you got to act like you're speaking from years and years of experience. You've built up, you've done the work, you've done everything. Because for me, I'm going off of video topics that I can write in bullets. I'm more of an expert on this type of stuff. I'm not going off of a whole script. I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I can't improvise things I don't have enough knowledge to. This is something I have a lot of experience to. Even though it's more like maybe 2 years of practice, I'm speaking like I have 10 years of practice actually. It's just something I'm getting used to, and now I'm just learning how to speak on camera fluently, and I'm speaking like I've done this before, even though I rarely ever do this. This is odd. This is still odd to me, but I gotta speak like this more often. The more you practice, the more you speak with confidence, the more credible your words will seem. And if you're nervous to speak, especially during times of pressuring when you're like on the stand with a crowd of an audience around you, or you're speaking to your crush, you gotta think your response over and over and over again before you say it, so it's like clear in your mind. So it's like clear in your mind, and then it will be clearer in your voice. Speak in more nerve-wracking situations. Speak to more of your crushes. Speak to a crowd. Speak when the room is dead silent, you know? Make a funny joke in the crowd randomly. Putting yourself in more nerve-wracking type situations will calm the nerves down you're speaking, and it'll help you build the confidence to say these words more clearly over and over again, especially during those types of times. And if anyone bullies you for the way you stutter, no, they don't care about you. They don't understand what it's like to be like you when you're not being taken seriously for the way you're speaking. They don't understand your situation. They aren't your true friend because of the way they're making fun of you for something that's clearly fixable. They're not encouraging you to fix it. They're just, oh my gosh, this dude is stuttering. Oh my, they're an asshole, complete asshole. This is just a reminder to yourself that you need to still practice speaking to yourself first before you speak to others, right? Using these tips, hopefully the video tips that you learned here can be applied to your future conversations, and hopefully you can be taken more seriously by your friends. Bye-bye.